And joining us on the Medi-Share guest line is the punter for the Arizona Cardinals, Andy Lee. He plays college football at Pittsburgh, was drafted by the 49ers in the 6th round of the 2004 NFL Draft. He's played for the Browns and Panthers. He's been selected to 3 Pro Bowls, first team All-Pro 3 times. Andy and his wife, Rachel, are co-founders of Madelines Fund, which assists families who have children in the NICU. Really encourage you to check out madelinesfund.org, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But Andy, so good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. I appreciate you having me on here, and just excited to talk about some things and hang out for a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, all right. So it's the off season. We'll talk about the draft in a moment. But what does the off season look like for you and your family?
Oh, for us, I mean, I would say mine's probably a little more low key than like your normal football player. I kind of get back in the gym, work out a little bit. I don't do a ton of big heavy lifting, but I try to keep my body kind of maintain it and continue to keep the fast twitch muscles kind of going. So we do that, and then just hanging out with my wife and kids. We'll go play a lot of golf together, and we do some trips. Go down to Kiowa a lot. We love it down there, and just watching them play sports and stuff, because don't get to do that as much during the season. So it's really fun just to be able to kind of dive in and just watch them compete.
Oh, that's cool. What sports do they play, and what sports did you play growing up?
So right now my youngest, who is 10 years old, his name's Adam. He is playing travel AAU basketball. He loves basketball.
Ooh.
He'll play. He plays flag football as well. That's about.
Nice.
He'll go play golf with me. That's about the extent of his golf game, but he still enjoys it. And then Ryan, my oldest, he plays travel lacrosse. He's playing tennis right now as well. He loves tennis. He loves golf. He plays golf a lot with me, and he loves football as well. He used to be big into soccer. He just finished he was actually Greg Olson was his coach in the church league basketball team. So they just finished that up, and it's probably, I would say he loves playing it, but it's not his favorite sport to play. He's really into tennis and lacrosse right now, and trying to get him into golf because he's really good. But I think that takes some patience, and he's 12, so he's getting in there. But I grew up playing. My biggest thing was baseball.
Oh, yeah.
I played baseball, basketball, football, so they kind of all overlapped each other in high school. And then I played summer baseball, so that overlapped almost. So pretty much year round, I was playing sports. But baseball was my big thing, and it was my passion. And obviously, both my kids don't play baseball. They didn't like it too much, but they would be good, but I think it's, it's not as exciting as some of the other sports at this age, which was sad for me, but I let them choose their way, and I just try to, be their cheerleader as much as I can.
That's right. Oh, that's very interesting. Well, even for you then, how did you make the transition from baseball to being a punter? Because normally I think soccer, right?
Yeah. So, well, I played soccer when I was a kid. Like most kids grow up, they'll play soccer, they'll do the basketball. Like growing up, football's not that big of a thing, especially where I grew up. And I just always, like, we played football in the backyard, and I was always the guy that kicked the ball off, or I could throw the ball really far. I can hit a golf ball really far. I have like some quick twitch muscles to where I can do some things. So one day it was 8th grade C team. I was quarterback football team, and they were like, before the first, like about a week before the first game, they're like, we need a punter. Who wants to, we're having punter tryouts after practice. And I was like, well, I have a good leg, so I just, go out there, drop it like a watermelon, hit it, and so that's how I kind of became the punter. And after that season, I was like, I'm done with football and focused on baseball. I don't want to get hurt going into like JV, like high school football. And they came up to me about 2 weeks before the season started, and they were like, we don't have a punter. You had a decent leg last year. We want you to come punt for varsity. And I didn't know what I was doing. So luckily there was a guy in my hometown named, his name was Kenny. And he helped me basically learn how to punt. Like I had no clue I was supposed to spiral or do any of that stuff. So by halfway through my 9th grade year, I was like turning punts over, and it just kind of went from there. And I still wanted to play baseball. I was supposed to, one of the things about when I was going to college, Pittsburgh, I was supposed to play baseball. My sophomore year, they said, like, first year you got to do all football, and then you can play baseball from then on out. So I was supposed to play baseball at Pitt my sophomore year. That they told me I was supposed to. And it got to a point where I was like, I'm so busy, I don't think I can do this, So I was like, I can't. So I was like, I'm done, and I just focused on punting, and it worked out. So it was good. It all worked out for the best.
Gosh, now heading into your 19th season in the NFL. That's remarkable. And back to your kids though, I imagine they punt the ball in the backyard. But what's that dynamic been like? Hey, your dad's an NFL punter. Do you want to punt? You want to try it? How does that work out?
So it's kind of so the first interest. I mean, they'll goof around and do it because I do it, right? But so last year I ended up getting COVID around Christmas, and my wife and kids like they kind of go back and forth between here and Arizona, and they were out there with me, and I was like, okay, I can't. Like I had COVID, I couldn't go to a public park due to restrictions and all the things that were going on. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I ended up getting a kicking net, like you see on the sidelines.
Yep.
And I rent a house out there when I'm out there. So I put it in the backyard, and I was punting into it a little bit because I knew whenever this was over, my time was up on a Saturday. So I was like, I might not be able to do anything and go straight into a game after 10 days. So I was like,
Wow.
so I was punting out there. And so he comes out and he wants to punt into the net, and I'm teaching him and everything. And it was really fun. And then and it's kind of slowed down since then, but I've kind of told, I just, he's 12, his hands aren't like as big as they need to be. And there's just so much things. So I was like, you have plenty of time as long as you have a decent leg, which he does, but you don't know how it's going to develop. Right.
True.
He's almost 12. He'll be 12 next month. I'm like, let's just you do your thing right now. I can teach you the fundamentals and how to punt. If you have a leg, you'll be fine. So there's some interest there, and I think it'll be fun as we get older. And probably I'd say, maybe next year when he's starting to get like around 14, he'll have plenty of time to kind of get through that and do that.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's fascinating because I actually had Ricky Prohl on the show last week, and he has two sons that also play wide receiver in the NFL. And so it's just interesting how certain skills can translate. And then also there's plenty of stories where a guy plays a different position than his dad did and all that kind of thing. And then we talk about young kids figuring out what path to go on. That's fascinating to me because at what point did you even think that you could punt in the NFL, that you knew that you had an elite ability?
Me personally, I would say maybe going into my junior year, maybe around my junior year, maybe is a little before, or a little after, is sometime around then, at which I personally thought that I had like a chance. My kicking coach Kenny Gordon, I remember him my senior year in high school at our like football banquet that you kind of have a little football banquet with awards and all that stuff afterwards. I remember him saying this kid will be punting on Sundays. I thought it was cool to hear that, right? But I didn't really think that like that would happen. I was really raw, and it worked out that way.
Yeah.
But I would say probably going like somewhere around my junior year, I knew I had some. I was getting some accolades in college and everything, and I knew that there was a chance at that time if I just continued to get better.
That's awesome. And you did. And so now I just saw you re-signed for another season, which will be your 19th season in the NFL. And last year you had a great year. So it makes sense that you would be back. But at the same time, it's still another year in the NFL. And so what's the decision-making process like for you and your family to say, yeah, let's go for another season?
I think a lot of it had to do with the type of year I had. Like I remember, I think it was the third or fourth game of the season. After we get done with the game, and go see my wife and kids, and she basically, I remember her saying to me, "You're not done," like because it's kind of a yearly thing now, right? It's kind of, is this it? Like, was last year it? Was the COVID year kind of the no fans in the stands it? And part of that was like, okay, I want to play it like with fans and like the normal stuff, because that was really, really weird to have a season that way. And then I just feel like it's kind of like a year at a time thing. Is this it? I would say I'm closer to it being it, if that makes sense, than to keep playing. But then again, the chance of being able to say you play 20 years, that's pretty cool. 19's cool, but 20's like, it's just like, it's kind of like, the two in front of it sounds pretty cool. So I don't know. I think we'll take it a day at a time, and just try to have a good year. And if it's it, it's it. If we keep going, we keep going. Kind of reassess when everything's over and sit down with the family and talk. My oldest wants me to be done.
Oh, he does.
But yeah, but it, it's sometimes he doesn't, so I think it's, just different times, and especially after the season's over, that's fresh. So I don't want to make I don't want to make a decision when all that stress and all that stuff that's going on is fresh on my mind. I want to, kind of wait till, assess it when the time actually comes.
That's neat. That makes sense. And playing this long that you have, what do you love about being an NFL player? And what do you love about being able to keep going and saying, "Yeah, I want to do this another year"? And because I imagine you still have to love it in order to be playing at this stage. Am I right in
Oh yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. I definitely, it's definitely, I love it. I would say, oh, I mean, being an NFL player is cool. Even if you're a punter, it's not. Some people, it's not like the most the coolest position to be, but it's still NFL player. So that just be doing having that, being able to say that's really cool. And I think it's, doing that for 18 years now. It's kind of become a part of who I am and a part of my life, my family's life. So that'll probably be tough when it's all over, but it's just fun to be able to go out and do something that you love and get paid for it, right? So and I feel like it's a challenge. I like to compete, I like to win. So in everything I do, I mean, you ask my wife, my kids, they don't beat me at basketball. If they do beat me at basketball, it's because they beat me, right? Like I'm the one. I'm like, you're gonna, like, we earn things. I feel like you have to earn things in life. So I'm not gonna. I don't like to give anybody anything. So I'm still kind of competing with other punters in the NFL, younger guys, but also competing with myself and just trying to continue to do everything that I used to be able to do, even though I know I can't. Obviously, my leg's not where it used to be. It's still pretty good. Obviously, I wouldn't still be playing, but I think it's just trying to get better each and every day, and that's kind of what I've done my whole life. It's always been sports ever since I was young. So I don't know. It's kind of scary on the other side. I know I'll do something, but right now as long as I can still do something that I loved when I was a kid, like, I will keep on going.
That's right. You and Tom Brady got to keep it going. So he
He's
couldn't
on
give
a
it up
different
either.
level. He's on a different level.
Hey, he wants to keep doing it. He wants, as long as somebody's willing to put you on the team, you got to keep doing it.
That's true.
Actually, no, yeah, I talked to Ricky Prohl last week. He had a long career, I think 17 seasons. So he kept playing as well. All right, let's go back to the beginning of your career, because the NFL draft is taking place in a couple of weeks, and I'm always curious to hear people's draft stories. So punters don't necessarily always get drafted, but you did, 6th round, 49ers. So what was that kind of weekend like, that experience like? What do you remember from that back in 2004?
I was at my parents' house. I guess technically still kind of my house at that time. Just hanging out, and I knew that I knew there was a good chance I would, like, back then. I think it was first, second, third round was on a Friday or Saturday or whatever, and then the next day was 4, 5, 6, 7. It
That's
wasn't
right.
divided up in so many days at that time, so I knew I probably wasn't going to go in the first day. There was a small chance, but that didn't happen. And then there was some time. I thought I was going to go to Cincinnati at one point in time. I guess their special teams coach couldn't talk them into drafting me at that high. I think it was like in the 4th round. They had like 3 picks, I think, in that round. I don't think they had one in the 5th. Cleveland had one in the 5th. I think they called that. I thought I was going to go to Cleveland in the 5th round. Didn't. And then I know, based off of this is all information based off of what my agent was telling me. So if this is wrong, I apologize to anybody out there. But I do know, from what I understand, that Cleveland was going to draft me in the 6th round if I was
Okay.
still there. San Francisco was the pick before Cleveland. So I
Ooh.
didn't know that San Francisco was going to draft me until, I guess I was picked 188, I think. So 188? I think you don't have to look that up. It was like
Yeah.
188, somewhere around there. And I guess on like pick 187, they called me and told me they were going to draft me. And I was like, at the time, and I loved every minute of playing in Candlestick for 10 of the 11 years I was there, 1 year in the new stadium. It was amazing to me. It was one of the best places I've ever. I mean, it's amazing. It's very, very hard to punt there. I did
Oh,
not realize that when I got drafted. I was kind of like, okay, Cleveland, it's tough. It's cold and it's windy. I knew that. I was at Pittsburgh, right? I knew I punted in Heinz Field for 4 years in college, or 3 years in college. Three Rivers was the first year, and I was like, "Oh, this is great! It's California. It's warm. It's great." Now it's not cold there. It's warm, but it is really, really windy, and I didn't realize that until I got there. So, and I didn't watch much NFL football growing up, so I was a big college guy. Being from South Carolina, I feel like it was a college atmosphere. I grew up 20 minutes from Clemson University, so my dad went there, my brothers went there. It's just so that's kind of where I grew up in that area. So I didn't know much about the NFL, and well, it worked out, but it was a tough first couple years learning how to punt in that stadium. But yeah, it was great when I got picked. It was kind of like for me it was like I was a first round pick because a punters go later in the round, so it was just awesome to be picked. Period. I think there was 3 of us drafted that year. It was I know Donnie Jones was one of them, and I can't remember the other guy's name. He went to Cincinnati actually in the 7th round, I think. And Donnie got drafted by Seattle, who then ended up in St. Louis, but he played a long time as well. He played like 16 years. He's a great dude. He's one of my good friends, and
cool.
So it was a cool experience. So
That's neat. And yeah, to always be able to say, yeah, I was drafted into the NFL, and then to be able to have the long career. So that's really neat. So I'm looking forward to the draft in a couple of weeks for sure. All right, we'll talk a little football in a little bit, but I want to catch up kind of faith wise personally. So I saw you right before the Rona hit in 2020. We did the Super Saturday event together, and a month later, everything kind of happened. So as you reflect back just kind of on these last 2 years, in what ways did your faith grow in the midst of the craziness and kind of the tough circumstances that we all faced in different ways? And then in what ways were you challenged throughout the last couple of years?
I would say through the challenges I faced, they kind of grew. So I feel like it's kind of one and the same.
Yeah.
Obviously knowing that I'm going to retire soon as well. At that time, you don't know. I mean, even though this is 2 years ago, it's still kind of like I can see the end. The end's a lot closer than the beginning. And stock market's crashing, everything's going down. I'm stressed out about the money part of it. And okay, well, if this is it now, like you don't want to retire when you're in a recession or a downturn and all this other, all the financial stuff that you just go crazy about. So that was real stressful. And then not knowing about the season and are we going to have a season or are we not? And on top of that, now you can't go to church. You can't it's tough, right? Like nothing's open. You're at home a lot, which for me was a good thing because obviously I love being around my wife and I love my 2 kids. So that was a good thing. But I feel like through that time, it's almost like I kind of fell away a little bit because you didn't have the weekly church and the weekly and I'll even admit it's still even to this day. It's now that everything's open back up. It's almost like it's harder now to get back into that rhythm of Sunday we go to church and we do this and we do this. It's just still it's kind of like as things have opened back up, we gotta you gotta change your lifestyle back to that a little bit. But then again,
That's right.
I felt like at times I felt lost and like I was like, what's going to happen? I think a lot of people did, right? Like you're like, at first this was scary too because how serious is it? We don't really know. Like, is it really just And I think through that stress and that anxiety that I was kind of facing a little bit, it did eventually lead me back in the right path, right? Because I feel like when you're in a routine, it's really easy to stay connected and stay, have that relationship with God, stay there and be solid. And even though I still pray every night and we pray with the boys every night before we put them down, it's not just about like doing the steps, right? You got to kind of live it. And not that I was doing anything maybe differently in my life, but maybe I wasn't trusting in God as much as I should have in my decision making or in my worrying about things that really are out of my control, which I know is hard to do with anybody. Like I can sit here and say I try all the time dealing through this and dealing through anything I'm messing with, try to give it to God and let him take it a day at a time. I can't do that. I try and I continue to try every day, and it helps, right? It helps because I know where I'm going in my life, that he will lead me along that way. And I got to try to get my own thoughts out of the way of what's 5 years going to be like. Now, obviously, being a husband and a father, I have to think 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, well, for financial situations or for this or for that, because I want things to be taken care of. But that's also not guaranteed that I'm going to get there either. So you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. You have to make decisions. So one thing this has taught me, I think, and it took me a long time to get there, is try to make decisions for today. Maybe base it off of what's going to happen later, but that decision happens today. Don't worry about a decision that's going to come a year from now, today. So if today is going to affect 5 years from now, think about it now. But if it's not, now, and you could take that like anyway. Well, yeah, anything can be an effect that I do today is going to. If you take that under context, not and just go and run with it, is I feel like that's really helped me. So anything I'm doing today, like, is today. If it's going to affect later, I can worry about it a little bit, or not worry about it. Maybe, you pray about it, and like, just like if we're like the little crazy things, like whether I'm going to play or not, just kind of pray about it. And I can't worry about this, what's going to happen if I say yes or I say no. I just got to worry about whether it's what I should do or not. Does that make sense? I know that's kind of crazy, but like if I feel like God's saying play, well, then I can't worry about what that's going to do, because I feel like that's what he wants me to do.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So
that's good.
That's more the thing. I guess it's not necessarily worrying about the future. It's not worrying about what the actual outcome of the future is going to be, because if you do what tells you to do, or is asking you to do, or is pointing you towards, you will be fine, and it will all work out. And if you make the wrong decision, say you let the evil in, and you do this, and you're going to know pretty quick that you're on the wrong path if you're walking with God, right? So yeah, you may make that's missteps, that's mess ups, but at the end of the day, you will come back to where you're supposed to come if you stay and walk with God. And I think that's what I've just been trying to do through this whole thing, is just trust that everything I'm doing, if it's thought through and there's a process, and I believe that, I've prayed about it, and I believe if I pray, am I supposed to do this? Give me a sign, give me this. Something's gonna, it's amazing. Like we were dealing, I'm not gonna get into issues with it, but we were a month ago, we were going through a financial decision, and I was like, I don't know, and I really wanted to, because it's something I've always wanted to do, and always wanted this and this and this, and then I kind of pray about it, and next thing you know, one of my buddies calls me with some information, or with a Bible verse, or this guy, or you'll hear this talk, and you'll be like, oh, and it just makes it's just right in that same area, and it's kind of like, okay, I hear you. It's right. Not always like crazy, but sometimes it's like right in your face, like, wow, that's amazing. So I just feel like that's kind of, that, I know that's a long-winded answer of everything, but through all the uncertainty, I feel like I've gained more certainty in today.
There you go. I love it, man. I'm right there with you, and appreciate the honesty and the wrestling, because we can all, I'm sure most of us can relate to that. I was just talking to my mentor at lunch today, actually, and I was like, I kind of regret this decision, or this attitude, or this perspective that I had for a while. And he's like, well, do you believe in God's sovereignty? And do you believe that he's going to redeem situations? And even when we do make the wrong decision, that he still works it for good. And it was a good challenge to me to say, yeah, no, I do believe that. So then I got to let go of some of those past decisions and that kind of thing. And then, just what you're saying, as far as today, we gotta embrace today, and it's steps of obedience. It's today. Are we going to obey God, and what's he making clear today? All right, we can make that decision, and then we can move forward, and not have to be caught up in all the worry and the anxiety of things down the line. So I'm
still not good at it. It's
right.
a work in progress.
We're in progress. No question. It's a journey. It's It's a walk. It's a walk with Jesus. So I appreciate you sharing all that. And so this week we're doing the show. This weekend is Easter. And so when you think about what we celebrate as Christians this weekend, what's maybe on your heart this week, or what comes to mind as you think about the cross and the resurrection?
I mean,
Sorry to put you on the spot, but
no, it's fine. It's fine. I would say, because I'm just going to say what came to my mind. I mean, just amazing. Like, I have 2 boys. I couldn't do it. I couldn't send my boys. I mean, as much as I can sit here and you could sit here and say, yeah, I do it. If I knew it was, I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't. Like,
Yeah.
I could say I could do it for my boys.
Yep.
But I couldn't do it. And like, to even, I mean, I guess I couldn't fathom doing it. Now, I guess if I knew it was going to save everybody and everybody was going to, like, what Jesus actually did for us, maybe I could, but I don't think I have the capability or the mind or the thought process to actually think that would actually do. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like some things are just, I mean, and I don't think it's not necessarily like what faith is, but I feel like faith, without faith, you wouldn't have Christianity. If I knew everything and was all knowing, obviously, I wouldn't be there. So I it's something that I can't like wrap my mind around because of how much I love them and being able to I don't ever want them to be in pain. Right. So, and especially to have the pain that he was brought on him of everyone. I can't even imagine that. So it's just gratefulness. I mean, it's just rebirth, gratefulness. It's just an awesome time, and it's why we were able to have a relationship with God. So I mean, it's the most important thing that ever happened in my eyes to humanity of all time, right? Like, it's amazing. So I think that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if that's the best answer, but
no, that's a great answer to I think there's so many elements to what took place to contemplate and to kind of put yourself in that situation as a dad. I think is a unique perspective to think about, and then to think about the love that God the Father has for his son and for us, yet he was willing to sacrifice his son, and then Jesus' willingness to sacrifice, to say, yes, I'll do this because he loves us. So then to try to relate it to our own kids and ourselves. And I love it. So it's,
yeah, I think it's great. I mean, it also reminds me, I remember, I think it came out when I was in college. I think I saw it in the movie theaters. It was Passion of the Christ.
Yep.
Is that Passion of the Christ? Am I
Yeah.
quoting it right?
Yeah. Passion of the Christ. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That just being able to, like, we've watched that here and there.
Hard to watch.
Yes, it's very hard. It's very emotional. It's very and I mean, it probably doesn't even do what really happened. You never know, even justice in that. But just thinking how much I love my kids. Now, I can sit here and say I love them just as much as God loves us, or just as much as God loved Jesus. I don't know if I can love something as much as God loves us. You know what I mean? Like, for everything he's done for us, if you really think about how bad even a good Christian is,
that's right.
It's still, and he still loves the bad people, right? Like so I can't even fathom the love he had for his son, and then him still being able to do that. And with the amount I love my kids, which I can sit here and say I think I love them more than anything in the world, and I do, but I just feel like everything with God is always multiplied. Like, whatever, if you feel love, it's nothing compared to how much he loves you. So I think that's what, can keeps me going each day, especially, I mean, I know you mentioned it with Madelines Fund. We had a daughter and she passed away, and it sucked. I mean, I was mad for a long time. Didn't understand why, but when you really deep down think about it, he knew what he was doing. She's somewhere hopefully, I'm guessing in heaven. I know that's based off everything I've read. She's in heaven. She was a baby, so she had no decision making process, but she's in such a much better place than we are right now. And I'll get to see her again one day. It's actually made me and my wife's us our just everything, our relationship better, our relationship with God better, even though it struggled a little bit after it. But without our relationship with God, I don't think our relationship would be where it is today through that and through everything else. So it's God's done some amazing things in our lives, even through some crappy stuff, so it's been a journey for sure.
Amen. Gosh, that's powerful, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing all that. And you mentioned Madelyn, and Madeline's Fund is what started out of pain and tragedy, so that you can be a blessing to other families that go through tough situations when they have a child in NICU. And so the website is madelinesfund.org. And what's maybe something you're most excited about? What's going on with Madelyn's Fund right now?
So right now we're helping families. We never stopped during COVID. We were able to, with
Great
donations and with being good stewards, I would say, of people's donations, had enough saved up for something, if something like this did happen. We were thinking more of, okay, what happens if we don't get donations in this year, like the events don't do as well or this. But obviously COVID hit, and we still did pretty well through that time. We couldn't have our golf tournament that in 20. We couldn't have the gala that year, so we relied solely on donations, and it still went pretty well. And we have our golf tournament coming up here in May, on May 23rd, at Charlotte Country Club. My wife's actually doing a tennis tournament as well on the same day now. She did that last year. She's doing that again this year, and then we have our gala that will be in October. I think it's like October 15th or 16th. I could be wrong on that. I apologize on that, but the information will be out there soon on that. But that's a fun little party that we throw, and just celebrate the families and all the people we've been able to help. I know we're over 1,600 families helped since inception. I want to say we're probably closer to 1,700. We're over 150 funerals, so we'll do funerals for families that lose children, can't afford to properly memorialize their child. And it's been going great. Honestly, it's been awesome to be able to honor her, honor Madelyn, and by being able to give back and help other people and help people in need. So it's something that we're excited about. We're actually we help Levine Children's Hospital and Himby Presbyterian Children's Hospital. They're both level 4 NICUs, so that's where most people come when something bad's going on, or really bad, I would say, to get certain procedures done and certain equipment they have to be able to care for the baby. So there's some people that will travel a good amount of distance to come in here to do that. And one of the reasons we do that as well is because most of the time you have an extended stay at a level 4 NICU. I mean, unless you're in Charlotte, you could possibly be there and you'll be in and out kind of thing. And those people we normally don't see very often or request things from us. But a lot of times you have some people that are in there for months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. And, some of those, families, it's either see your baby or, go to work. And sometimes, or, it's, I can't work as much. And so we financially, try to assist in areas that help them to be able to, be there present, which is huge for their babies. Like it's developmentally, it's very big for the parents to be there and be around their baby, and for the baby to hear them and hear them talk, and then just just other things like people are in a bad spot, and the one thing you don't want to have to worry about is money. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest problems in a lot of marriages to begin with, is how we're going to pay for this, how we're going to do this, how we're going to do this. Well, now you have a baby in the NICU that's sick, whether it's in good terms, bad terms, whatever, you really never know. It's scary every day. It could be a roller coaster in there. So, we try to, ease their burden in some way so that they can at least focus on their baby and not have to worry about things as much. So it's been really good.
I love it, man. We'll keep up the great work. Madelinesfund.org, and the link should be in our show notes. So check that out. Encourage people to support it. Madelinesfund.org. Well, Andy, man, great to see you. Great to catch up with you. Excited to see you again, year number 19. So have a wonderful season with the Cardinals, and appreciate you being on Unpacking It today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
All right, there he is, Andy Lee, Arizona Cardinals punter, joining us here on the Unpacking It podcast presented by Medi-Share.